What's up, everyone? I hope you're feeling happy, healthy, and ready to kick today's butt. Whether you listen in the morning, afternoon, or in the evening, you can always get something done. We got our Final Four for our Hoops fans. Seems like some things never change. Once again, we have Duke. Once again, we have Kansas, Villanova, and North Carolina. Being that it's Coach K's last year, I'm going to go with Duke. Who do you have? Let me know in the comments. And I guess the Oscars were last weekend. I could barely remember if the Oscars were for movies or music until I kept seeing notifications on my phone and all over the internet Monday morning that Will Smith smacked Chris Rock, and they had a bit of a moment. I know you don't care about the Oscars, neither do I, but I did check this out, and Will Smith sure enough did smack him. It wasn't a very hard hit, but it was serious and unscripted, and then Will Smith started shouting at him to leave his fucking wife's name out of his mouth. It was all over a joke. Chris Rock said Jada looked like G.I. Joe. And it really wasn't that bad, nor was the joke even funny. But you can't make jokes anymore. Someone is always getting upset about it. It seems like everybody's on edge these days, even the wealthy. To me, there's something about our society right now, the current state of affairs. Something doesn't feel right, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Is it social media? We're definitely going to check this out again another day, but we have a lot of other news stories going on. Today, in the Rooney Bin, we have a crypto update, Biden's new budget plan, Justice Thomas and his wife. Trump and Biden both choose words poorly at times. Our first story in the Rooney Bin is crypto news from MarketWatch.com. President Joe Biden's budget released Monday, and it includes proposals that would modernize tax rules for digital assets, and the administration expects the reforms to be part of a new revenue-raising effort that will reduce the federal budget deficit by more than $1 trillion over the next 10 years. The budget proposes changes to tax laws that would increase reporting requirements for certain taxpayers who own foreign cryptocurrency accounts and require financial institutions and digital assets brokers to report more information on their customers to the IRS. The document also recommends changes to the law for taxpayers who are full-time dealers or traders of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. The total projected revenue raised by these changes amounts to $11 billion between 2023 and 2032. Sorry, my dog is dreaming right next to me. I don't know if you can hear him. He's a really loud dreamer. He barks and he cries and he makes a lot of noises. This is like my fifth or sixth attempt at this episode today, and I'm all out of time, so we are just working through it. So if you're hearing some weird noises in the background, that is my boy dreaming. Anyways, back to this article. So sorry for the distraction. The Biden administration is also seeking to spend an additional $52 million on its efforts to combat cyber threats, which is the chief among ransomware. So the money would go to hiring more FBI agents and enhance response capabilities and analysis capabilities, according to this budget document. These investments are in line with the administration's counter-ransomware strategy that emphasizes disruptive activity and combating the misuse of cryptocurrency, the budget went on to say. So any changes to tax laws relating to cryptocurrency are likely to be controversial, given divisions in Congress over whether digital assets bring more benefits or risks to the U.S. economy and consumers. The recently passed bipartisan infrastructure bill is projected to raise $28 billion over 10 years through stricter reporting requirements that the IRS believes will help it collect more of the taxes Americans already owe. Well, I think you know this was coming, or you already knew this was coming. I've been updating you on the situation since Biden said he was going to look into crypto. Not that I have a lot, or this really impacts me, because it really doesn't impact me at all. I do like the idea of a currency being out there that doesn't have government involvement. But where and whenever the government can step in and make some money, track your shit, and keep tabs on everything, you better believe they will. Per the Washington AP, President Joe Biden released a budget blueprint Monday that calls for higher taxes on the wealthy, lower federal deficits, more money for police, and greater funding for education, public health, and housing. Well, doesn't that sound nice? And apparently, police need more funding, not less. And it's kind of interesting, they're now investing into public health. Well, what about the last few years? In essence, Biden plan tries to tell voters what a diverse and at times fractured Democratic Party stands for. So the bottom line here is Biden is proposing a total of 5.8 trillion in federal spending in fiscal year 2023, which begins this October, slightly less than what was projected to be spent this year before the supplemented spending bill was signed into law this month. The deficit would be $1.1 trillion. There would be 795 billion for defense, 915 billion for domestic programs, and the remaining balance would go to mandatory spending such as Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and net interest on national debt. The higher taxes outlined on Monday would raise 361 billion in revenue over 10 years and apply to the top 1% of households. The proposal lists another 1.4 trillion in revenue raised over the next decade through other tax changes. I didn't read exactly what those other tax changes are, so we'll definitely have to keep paying attention to see what other details are sitting in this bill. That's what I hate about these several thousand plus page bills, right? There's so much crap that ends up in them, way more than what they tell us. So more money would go to support law enforcement, yet bipartisan efforts at police reform have failed. The budget assumes, with a high degree of uncertainty based on forecasts made last November, that inflation at a 40-year peak gets back to normal next year. God, I hope they're right. Budgets are statements of value, Biden said in his own statement. And the budget he's releasing today sends a clear message that, or at least Biden is trying to say that he values fiscal responsibility, safety, security at home and around the world, and the investments needed to continue our equitable growth and build better America. Now, I don't know about you at this point. I pretty much don't believe anything Biden says or does. I think every tax-paying American should receive a report card from the government every month showing us exactly what they did with every single dollar of our tax money. So the article went on to say, while the budget would alleviate funding for education, public health, and provide $48 billion to increase the supply of affordable housing, it fails to spell out what the broader successor to Biden's stalled Build Back agenda would be. And it's probably because they don't have a better plan. This sounds like he's trying to help out Democrats before the midterms, really. And who knows what he's going to do next year. So I wouldn't believe everything Biden says personally, but that's just my opinion. Then this week in Biden economics, Rick Newman at Yahoo News writes, Joe Biden, an oil man? He'd never characterize himself that way, given that he wants his presidency to mark the most decisive move yet towards green energy. But uncomfortable realities are forcing President Biden to tactfully condone new U.S. oil drilling and offer federal support for the increased production and export of U.S. natural gas. It could turn out to be the biggest unannounced pivot of his presidency. The United States is the world's largest natural gas producer and the second largest exporter after Russia. But getting gas to Europe from the United States is much, much harder than getting it from Russia. Most Russia gas arrives in Europe by pipeline, but there's no pipeline to Europe from the United States. So the challenge is replacing Russia gas mostly arriving by pipeline with gas from other sources like being shipped in. Biden plans on addressing this. Ultimately, I believe Biden will have to start producing more oil than he wants to, making him the world's oil man at the moment. CBS News is joining our party today on the Jay Rooney Show, and they say Democrats are calling for the recusal of Justice Clarence Thomas in January 6 cases after CBS News and Washington Post obtained texts from his wife to former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows pushing for overturning the 2020 election. Now, I don't have a lot to say here yet, other than I believe Thomas is saying he doesn't discuss work with his wife and she's allowed to have her own opinions. So make up your own opinion right now. The January 6th committee wants to talk with Virginia Thomas, so I'm sure there's more to come and I'll track this story for you. Have you noticed Trump news is picking back up again? Meaning it seems like he's always in the news everywhere I look, and personally, I'm anticipating him to announce his 2024 presidential run any day now. As much as some of you don't like him, and as much as the media acts like they don't like him, the media loves Trump, and you know it. News networks grew because of Trump, and then they had to downsize when he left office. Remember all those people they had to fire simply because they couldn't report on Trump anymore? So, with the anticipation of Trump's run, the media is stepping up Trump content again. Per The Hill and many other left-leaning publications that are jumping on Trump for praising foreign leaders Putin, Xi, and Kim Jong-un as strong and smart at his rally over the weekend. I go at Democrats really hard, but this is one of those moments I actually agree with them. And it feels crazy because I mostly think they've gone crazy, so I had to check myself. But sure enough, I don't like this. Trump needs to shut up when it comes to praising foreign dictators. I would like to see us build relationships with all nations, but given the tensions between our political parties at home and the fact that Russia's invading Ukraine right now, I think we should be more cautious with our words. Remember when that dude in The Patriot with Mel Gibson was going around burning people's houses? I forget his character's name. He was one of the British. He was, that main redcoat guy, killed two of Mel Gibson's son, and then eventually at the end of the movie, Mel Gibson killed him. Well, there was a scene when his general reminded him that when the war was over, you'll have to live with these folks again. And that's what Trump's comments felt like to me. I felt like Trump's comments were lacking good judgment. I think he gets too caught up in the moment at his rallies. He feels himself just a little bit too much. Just like Biden was feeling himself too much this weekend when he called Putin a butcher and gave away for the second time now that he wants a regimen change in Russia. Zelensky tried saying he is ready to end this, but the U.S. seems like they want to keep this war going. The White House had to try walking back Biden's comments this weekend, but it's too late. Biden continues to escalate things with unnecessary use of words. It seems like Biden and Trump have this in common. Neither of them choose words wisely. When you say you want a regimen change, you give fuel to Russia to fight harder, use more force, making it more likely for us to get into a war. Now watch the media try to clean this mess up for Biden. How many of them are backpedaling today? I don't know, because I don't watch TV. I just read the news, and I can definitely tell just from some things I read today, people are definitely backpedaling or not even bringing up Biden's comments from this weekend. So in some other news, in our health news today, nothing new for most of us, but for some of you, most people are familiar with the concept of a placebo, where merely providing positive information can improve perception of well-being, yet the opposite also occurs, with negative data making people feel worse about their own health. That's called a nocebo, which is Latin for I shall harm, as opposed to I shall please for placebo. And there's a good chance you have a nocebo strapped to your wrist. A wave of health tech gadgets, from fitness trackers to Apple Watches, means hundreds of millions of people are hooked up to real-time feedback devices. They're designed to measure your steps, encourage you to exercise more, and give daily updates on your mental and physical health. There's also good reason to think twice about whether you or loved one will truly benefit from 24/7 monitoring. Arbitrary goals served by an algorithm and regular notifications telling you that you're stressed out, you're tired, fit, or simply unproductive. I swear somebody posts an article like this every single year, and yet people keep buying these things. I've been saying this for over 10 years now. I found, based on my experiences as a personal trainer, these devices end up mentally stressing people out and causing some to over-exercise, creating a whole new set of problems. Just listen to your body, folks. You don't need these things. They're expensive too. They're a waste of money. So just listen to your body. Walk, lift weights, eat healthy, put down processed carbs, meditate. There's so many things you can do. You don't need a fitness tracker. Or just start tracking stuff yourself. Write things down. What's Marcus have to say today? Good or ill, for the rational social being lies not in the feeling, but in the action. Just as also his own virtue or vice shows not in what he feels, but in what he does. Once again, Marcus Aurelius says, good or evil for the rational social being lies not in the feeling, but in action. Just as also his own virtue or vice shows not in what he feels, but what he does. Thanks for stopping by the Jay Rooney Show.